I will switch the camera. I'll do the introduction and we'll just get into it because it's also going to be a podcast uploaded and I'll give you everything needed.
Okay.
Yeah. Make sure that's at the right angle. And oh, that's too low. Hold on. Is the frame okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Making sure because I don't want to cut off the top of my head or anything like that.
No, you have plenty of space, so.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. Good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Healthology. My name is Portia. I will be your host today. And today we're actually going to be talking to a holistic nutrition consultant, Julianna. Julianna, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi. Well, thanks for having me here. And I'm Julianna Weichert, and I live in Saskatchewan, Canada.
Fellow Canadian. I don't think I knew that, actually. So tell us a little bit about how did you come to your current focus on nutrition?
Well, it's actually a bit of a funny story. It had, for most people, right, it usually has to do with their health. But for me, it actually had nothing to do with my health. It had to do with my dog's health. When I recently had my dog living with me, he was probably about a year old, he started to have a lot of health problems. And I was probably visiting the vet's office twice, 3 times a month maybe, and things just were not improving. It didn't matter, we were trying so many things, nothing was working. And so I decided, to do my own little research and see if there was anything I could do at home that was going to help my dog. And researching, I came across feeding my dog raw. And I thought, well, maybe that could help. I'm going to give it a try, right? At that time, I was for sure wanting to try anything. And so I started learning more about it, and I started implementing it with my dog. And, now it has been 6-7 years that he's been raw fed, and he's as healthy as he can be, right? It's been, I want to say probably 3-4 years since I've seen my vet. And not because I don't like her, I have a great vet, but I just haven't had the need to see her because my dog is so healthy. And from there, it just kind of, snowballed for me. I began looking more into his health, but then I started looking into my health, what I could do to improve it. And, there's people in my family that do have many different kind of health issues. Cardiovascular disease, for example, is a big issue in my family. So then I started looking into that. And the more I learned, then I decided, I want to change my career. I don't like where my life is going. This is where I want to go. And ever since, I've been doing this and I just love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's really big when you want to change the life of somebody you care about, whether they're furry or human, it doesn't matter. So if somebody's looking for somebody like you, what's a common misconception they tend to have? Hold on. Focus. Put that down. I will turn the TV off. Then stop. Now. Go play. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So what's a common misconception? If somebody's coming to you for professional services, what would be a common misconception you tend to run into?
I think there's a few, but I'll say that a couple of the most common misconceptions I find. Number one, it would be about our training. As you know, we're a self-regulated profession at the moment, at least in Canada. And, a lot of people have this concept that we receive, maybe just a 1 weekend or 2 week even program, and then boom, we call ourselves nutritional consultant. Now, because it is a self-regulated profession, absolutely there's people that may do that. But some of us, we've gone through professional training. I had to do a 2-year program before beginning to do my nutrition consultations. And I guess the second misconception is that, either you work with us or you work with other say more conventional health professionals. And it definitely is not like that. We're not against other health professionals, whether it's another complementary or conventional. In fact, we want to work together. When you work together as a team, it's definitely going to benefit you as a client or the patient the most. So I think that's definitely a big one that, either you go and see this or this one because, your doctor doesn't know about nutrition or things like that. But definitely it's in your best interest to work as a team, and we want to work as a team. Even though there might be some friction within some professions, but we definitely prefer to work as a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because everything works all together. It's always interconnected, despite what people think about it functioning in vacuums. It's like, no, it all works together.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Like, are there other misconceptions? Because it sounded like you were kind of just looking for a main one.
Well, I think those are probably the main ones I see the most. I guess another misconception would be that when it comes to the difference, right, between a holistic nutritional consultant and a registered dietitian, right, that you either work with one or the other, because one is holistic and the other one isn't. But the truth is, our training is very different, and if you can work with both, if we can both work together, that's better for you as the patient or client. It's definitely not one or the other. Depending on your needs, maybe you don't need to work with a dietitian. Maybe you can just go straight with the holistic nutrition. But we're definitely not here to replace that profession, right?
Mm-hmm. How would somebody know if they need both?
Again, like I said, it would probably depend on your needs. A quick example I could think of, you have a health problem and you've met with your dietitian as per your doctor's recommendations, and they tell you this is what you need to look for, this is what your diet should be from now on, sort of thing, but then you don't know where to go from there.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, you could come and see a holistic nutrition consultant, and maybe we can help you. There are many ways that we can help you, but just off the top of my head, maybe we come to a meeting and we try to figure out, okay, this is the plan you've been given by your professional. So let's work on how we can integrate all the foods that you need into your diet, and maybe help you, with some new recipes or things like that. Maybe you're not big on eating vegetables, but because of your health problems, you really need to increase your vegetable consumption. So let's work on some creative ways to make sure you're getting enough vegetable servings every day.
Cool. Yeah, that's a lot of people struggle in the kitchen because everything's so convenient now. Almost nobody really truly knows how to cook anymore. So that's probably a lifesaver for them.
Yeah.
If you were, like, let's say you had to look for help from somebody else in your profession, what are some things that would steer you away from getting help from them?
Well, a couple of things I can think of. Number one, and I'm going to say this probably applies to not just my profession, but any other profession. If they're selling you a cure for everything, right? I have the cure to all your ailments, so you just got to come and see me and then you'll be done. To me, that's a big red flag, right? even a professional medical trained person will not tell you that they have the cure for whatever is ailing you. So to me, that's a big red flag. And maybe another specific to a nutritional consultant would be a lot of the times I notice, they'll look at nutrition as a belief system rather than a science, right? Nutrition is science, it's not a belief. And what I mean by this, a lot of us maybe have gotten here because of health problems that we had. And we found something that worked for us and improved our health and helped us support our body in the best way we could, and we're doing well. And that's fantastic. But when you start to think that, this is the way everybody should be eating. This is what works for everybody, right? Let's just say everybody has to eat a paleo diet because that's the way everybody needs to eat. It just doesn't work that way, right? Everybody's so different. Everybody's individual needs are going to be different. So, for me, that would be another reason not to work with someone. If this is what worked for you, yes, but if you recognize that everybody's different and we can work according to your needs, that's great. But if you're going to force, even just another example, right? If you're going to force someone who it's an omnivore and you want to force them to be a vegetarian, that's not going to work for neither one of you, right? It's not going to be a good relationship. So.
Yeah, like I know I myself do very well on a paleo diet, but I also know that others do very well on a vegetarian or vegan diet, but I get sick on them. So I've seen people who are so carte blanche. It's like, no, there's only one way to eat, period, ever, forever. It's like, no?
Well, exactly. And, if you have a niche, right, that you work with, a group of people you prefer to work with, say, your specialty is working with vegetarians and you can help vegetarians improve their meals, that's fantastic. If you have that, that's fantastic. But when you start wanting to impose your views in others, that's when we have a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, I'm a full quarter Swiss, I'm a full quarter British, and then the other half I'm not 100% sure. But I know I can eat as much cheese as I want. Like, other people will get constipated just looking at it, and I'm unbothered. And I think there's a certain genetic basis, depending on how strong a particular ethnic DNA is for a particular person, that it could push somebody being better suited in one area versus another. At least that's my observation anyways.
Yeah, and I agree. For example, today, grains have become the bad word in nutrition, right? But I live in Canada, but I'm actually originally from Mexico. I've only been in Canada for about 13 years. And in Mexico, grains and legumes are a staple for us. Corn is our big staple for us, right? So I do definitely think it has to do also with cultures and your genetics. And I'm definitely intrigued by what we're seeing today in the field of nutrigenomics, and I'm excited to see how that's going to move farther in the future. But
yeah, help people tailor their diet based on multiple avenues, including their ancestry. But let's just keep moving forward. Do you have any sort of funny stories or personal stories, something that you've experienced or been able to help somebody in your line of work?
I was thinking about that this morning, and I don't know why, but the one thing that came to my mind, and this is not related to nutrition, but when I first started looking into complementary health and all this, going back to my dog, I began taking some studies or training related to canine health. And part of that that I was learning involved animal Reiki. And, I was kind of skeptic because, it has to do with energies. It's not something that you can actually see or touch. It's not something very tangible. So I was a little bit skeptic, but I went with it. And I had one of my volunteer dogs that I was working with. The dog was a rescue dog and came from a very horrible background. This dog, nobody could touch this dog except for the person who had adopted the dog. Just to give you an example of how bad it was, whenever this dog needed to have a haircut and, just a little trimming around the nails, she actually had to take her to the vet. They would put her down to sleep, and then they can do the haircut and trim the nails. Because otherwise nobody could touch her, right? Going for walks with this dog was a nightmare. Everybody wants to touch the small little cute dog, but she would just bite people. And anyway, so I started working with this dog. Reiki was a great thing for this dog because you don't need to touch the dog. And on our second time that we were together, I was sitting in the room just like usually. I was on the floor sitting with the dog. And the dog was usually moving around a little bit. But this day, as I was sitting, she actually came up to me. And then my hand was on my, just sitting on my leg. And she put her head on my hand and just lay down there. I didn't pet her or anything because I didn't want to, ruin the moment. But she just stayed there for the whole session. She just sat there with me with her head on my hand. And that was, for me, it was like, wow, what did just happen here? So yeah, I think that's one of the most heartwarming stories I could find to share with you, because it was definitely an experience, right?
Yeah, that's always cool when you're able to break through with an animal who's been abused.
Yeah, and I think it's harder to break through with an animal than a human, even, I think so.
Well, yeah, because you're crossing the species barrier, and there's definitely a lot of communication barriers. Most of my animals have actually been all rescues, so I've had to get through to a lot of animals. So it's like, oh, poor baby. Why are humans such assholes?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're approaching roughly about half an hour. So let's sort of wrap up before my child starts yelling. Do you have any sort of social media, blogs, anything like that, so people can follow your work?
At the moment, I just have my Facebook page.
Okay.
And it's just named, with my name, Julianna Weichert. And the last name, if you want the spelling, is Wiechert. I don't have a blog yet, but probably in the future. But I just have too much going on that I don't have much time for that. But yeah, my Facebook page is a great start.
Awesome. I'll make sure to put the links in the description box below. And before we are inundated with a great deal of yelling, you have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stop.